very glad to say that the reaction has really been wonderful. They've been playing on Wazobia TV now every day. And on Friday, we have panel discussions where our teachers actually sit at the panel. Most of right now, because we are not going out online, of course, and children throw in their questions. I think the last Friday there were about 1,000 responses on WhatsApp to the panel discussion, and I myself, just before I came here, I was on TV, I was on radio, and talking about the initiative. And apart from that, we have also started classes for our GSS 3s, that is GSS 1 to 3. This is happening on Niger FM 102.7, and we are working in conjunction with South Saharan Social Development Organization. They've given us their material, and our teachers too have adapted it to our own curriculum and to our own methodologies, and this is also going on online. So we are reasonably certain that as children are learning at home. And apart from those two, for our primary school students too, we have programs on Lagos 107.5. We have Kokoka and Labeigi Urumbu, and these are still going on because at that age you have to make learning fun. We can't make it too serious. And also right now as I speak, we are not relenting. We keep on asking for support, and we are in advanced talks with the television station that has agreed to give us slots every day, and there we are going to work on the co-curricular subjects. Don't want it to be all the serious subjects like biology, maths, and so on. So there we'll have things like motivational speech, arts and crafts, STEM education, how to build a robot online, and so on. So that's the first thing that we're doing. And I must say that we've got a lot of support. We are also concerned about moving our children to e-learning, and we are cognizant of the fact that they may or may not have access to devices. And therefore, we've entered into a very, very exciting collaboration with First Bank to provide 1 million devices for students. We are working actually with a company called Rodicate, and they are providing the device. The device has the Nigerian curriculum on it. It has tests and quizzes, and I'm glad to also say that MTN has also given us airtime on these devices. First Bank has set the ball rolling. We are trying to ask the public to support us in providing these devices. Well, we ourselves, of course, will fund some of it. And what First Bank has set the ball rolling with 20,000 PCs. Edfin, Microfinance Bank, has also given us devices for our teachers. And so we are reasonably, and we are now looking for managing the logistics of getting the devices to the students. But this means that they too will be able to work on their laptops. So that's what we are doing during this period, ensuring that the learning continues. And of course, we have to start thinking about the future, because one thing is sure, that we all know from this pandemic, is that life is not going to be the same again. And so because it's not going to be the same, we have started thinking about post-COVID, and we are doing things like scenario analysis. What is the most likely scenario? What is the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And how do we react to all these scenarios? But one thing is certain, that we really, really have to move a lot of the things that we do online, and we do have to engage more seriously with the technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Next, I'm going to call the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Social Development, Honorable Shegun Daudu, to address us.
Good afternoon, gentlemen of the press. Good afternoon, my colleagues. First of all, we all know that our youth are very active, majority of this population, and we know that the stay-at-home affects them a lot. They all want to be out there doing one thing or the other, but we have continuously engaged them to ensure that they obey the directives of government in terms of social distancing and staying at home. Of course, we had to close down all sporting activities in the state because we cannot afford to have people infected at this time, at this point in time. So they are much affected, but we have continuously, through different fora, engaged them, and we'll continue to engage them, to talk to them, to make them understand that it is in their own interest, for the safety of life of everybody, for them to obey this directive of government. We know it is not easy for them, so we make sure we continue to do that on a daily basis. Some of them are part of the volunteers in these different efforts of distributing relief packages from the different local governments and through the Ministry of Agriculture. Also, in terms of our correctional centers, we have various correctional centers across the state for boys, for girls, junior ones and senior ones. We've made arrangements for them to sanitize the place. We fumigated the centers. We have centers in Oregun, Idiaraba, Surulere, Yaba, and so on. And we've restricted inflow of people coming into the centers for the time being. We're making arrangements, and arrangements are being made right now through with the collaboration and support of the Ministry of Agriculture to provide food and necessary facilities for them there. They are not lacking at the moment. We continuously monitor them on a daily basis to ensure that all their needs are taken care of. And also, we have our various rehabilitation centers. The Rehabilitation Center for Mentally Challenged in Majidun, the one in Ministerial, and the Rehabilitation Center for Persons with Disabilities at Owutu in Ikorodu. We monitor them on a daily basis. We provided medical facilities for them, as well as sanitize the place, fumigate the place as well with active support of Ministry of Environment, and we continuously monitor the activities. The same goes to our various orphanages, our motherless babies home, homes for children with special needs. And of course, we have about 50 private registered orphanages in Lagos State. We monitor them on a daily basis as well to make sure their needs are taken care of, to ensure that the children in those centers are not lacking and they're being well taken care of. Our officers go there on a regular basis and communicate with those in charge of the place to ensure that we give them all their needs, all they need in this period, during this period. Of course, we also, because we know a lot of children are at home now with their families, with their parents, and we know children can be a handful, and we continuously monitor the activities and continue to inform their parents against child abuse. Child abuse is against the law in Lagos State, and we make sure every time we continue to send messages out to let them know that they should not abuse their children. And of course, the issue of domestic violence as well and sexual violence is there as well. We send messages around, we monitor we have various monitoring team who does that on a regular basis, and any report that we've got, we swing into action immediately. And our rescue team, who rescue children, destitute, beggars on the street, are also in the place. A few days ago, we had to rescue a baby who was abandoned at Celeb bus stop pedestrian bridge. The child, the few-month-old baby, was rescued by us. We've taken the child to hospital for treatment, and one or two others are in our centers. We're taking good care of them, and we continue to do so during and after this pandemic. Also, as well, we'll continue to monitor the activities of our youth. We know they are the ones that are very eager to be out there, and it is very important for us and for them to stay indoors. We'll continue to do so, and we do so on a regular basis, directly and through different other forums, through different voluntary youth organizations, and and other people as well, the press as well. We'll always send messages to them, and we continue to do that to make sure that they don't go out there to go and play football, to do everything, because mingling together is not good for them. we need social distancing. We need for them to take care of their health for now, not to infect anybody and not to get infected as well. So we continue to monitor their activities and to send messages out to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Let me now invite the Honorable Commissioner for Home Affairs and the person of Prince Anofi Elegushi to please step forward.
Good afternoon. Honorable colleagues here present, gentlemen of the press. Part of our responsibility at the Ministry of Home Affairs is to oversee and monitor and also manage the activities of our religious houses and also to interface with the religious leaders. And on the part of the ministry, on this issue of COVID-19, we called a series of meetings. We've engaged our religious leaders. At the start, we called a meeting. That was on the 3rd of March. We organized a sensitization program for all our religious leaders in the state through the NIREC. NIREC means Nigeria Interreligious Council. At the meeting, speakers were drawn from various critical MDs like Ministry of Health, Environment, and all our safety sectors. So we called them to come down and explain in details all issues surrounding this pandemic disease. When we noticed that it's very obvious that a decision must be taken to curb the spread of this COVID-19, we called an emergency meeting of all religious leaders, and that was on the 18th of March 2020. And at that meeting, we let them know how important they are in achieving the social distancing we are talking about. And at that meeting, we agreed to suspend all congregational gathering of over 50 then. Immediately after that meeting, we had our press conference. We addressed the press on our decision. And at that meeting, we also inaugurated a committee of both Christian and Muslim, and then personnel from the ministry to monitor the activities of the religious houses and also to monitor the level of compliance. So, and in view of to review as event unfold then. So after the press conference of our Mr. Governor, that was on the 24th of March, I think so. Yeah. As a follow-up to that, to the directive of Mr. Governor, we called another emergency meeting of our religious leaders to let them know the decision of the government as regards to number of people that can congregate at the same time. Then we said it should be 20. But fortunately for us, for the government at that meeting, the religious leader resolved that it should be 0 instead of talking about 20. So knowing fully well that at both the mosques and the church and our churches, the number of people they pulled together for their worship. So we continue monitoring them as part of our responsibility. We had a series of meetings continuously with all our religious leaders. We also, in the area of prayers, as you know, as our ministry implies, is a prayer ministry. Through the Muslim and the Christian, we've engaged in a series of prayers, but always observing the social distancing. So, since the pronouncement of the present lockdown, the compliance of our religious houses is still very stable at 100%. Only in Agege at Mosalashi Alaja that we had issues, and immediately the state government moved in and sealed up that mosque. And since then, we've been, consulting most of our religious leaders, and I want to say that despite the fact that worshiping is very obligatory, as we all know, it's not optional to some people, but they still stand by us. They stood by us, most especially at this time of COVID-19. They adhere to all the rules and regulation of the state government on the restriction. So prayer is key. As we said, the state government have made a lot of effort, and I will also use this opportunity to employ everybody, all Lagosians, to continue praying for the state, continue praying for all our health workers and other critical personnel that are working both day and night to ensure that COVID-19, departed our state. Through the Ministry of Environment, all our churches, our major, big churches and mosques have been sanitized. We've been there to disinfect all our major mosques and churches. So with this, I think in the area of our religious houses, we are good. The compliance is very, very okay, and they complied very well. So I'm using this opportunity again to say a very big thank you to them, and also to keep it up, because COVID is still around. It's still very much around. So we must put all efforts together, synergize to make sure that we put COVID-19 not even out of Lagos alone, but out of Nigeria. So I want to still say that social distancing is still the best, the cheapest method of curbing the spread of COVID-19. So once again, I want to say a very big thank you to members of the press for, since we started this struggle with COVID-19, you've been very much with us, supporting us. Thank you so much. I think that's all for Ministry of Home Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I will invite the Honorable Commissioner for Local Government and Community Affairs, in the person of Dr. Wale Ahmed, to step forward.
Good afternoon, my colleagues in the Cabinet of Lagos State. Good afternoon, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Well, from the Ministry of Local Government, immediately the issue of COVID-19 became reality, even before it got to the extent of instituting a lockdown. We called a meeting of all the medical officers of health in each and every of the 57 local government and local council development areas, and all the community development associations We have about 3,900 of them in Lagos State, and the community development councils. And we brought in the Honorable Commissioner for Health to address them. Mr. Governor himself was present that day, and also the local government chairmen were there. And the idea then was for the Honorable Commissioner for Health to tell these people at the grassroots, representatives of the grassroots, about the disease, how it is transmitted, what measures to take to avoid or to prevent transmission and all that. So we started under Mr. Governor as incident commander very, very early. And that time it was advocacy, sensitization, and enlightenment. I thank all my colleagues here for all the background they have already given. In each local government, we have environmental health officers that are our staff of Lagos State government. They are there in each and every of our local governments. So Mr. Governor directed that we use this structure to carry out decontamination in all nooks and crannies of Lagos State, starting first of all with all public places, major highways, streets, schools, bus stops, markets, parks, and our health facilities. This is one of the so many ways, and this is one of the so many efforts that the government of Lagos State is putting in place to try to combat the disease. I would say that is going on right now. Mr. Governor has provided 200 of these motorized disinfectants, the required chemicals, the required wares in terms of personal protective equipment to all the 57 local government and local council development areas. So they have the tools to work with. And I'm happy to report to you that they are even enthusiastic about it, both the local government chairman and the environmental health officers. And I want to thank the Ministry of Environment for joining us in this drive, so that because they have been providing guidelines what exactly the kind of chemical to use and all that, but we have used the structures we have in place. We believe that this statewide activity, regardless of the cost and the man-hour it takes, if it has saved just one life, it is worth it. And I want to believe it has done much more than that. In terms of relief package to our people, all local government chairmen have also started doing it. I will leave that for Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture to talk about later, but local government chairmen are also doing it with some assistance from the states. So I only want to tell Lagosians, or to reiterate, that this government means well, this governor means well. So I want to urge everybody to please cooperate with government and believe that whatever directive comes from Mr. Governor and the government of Lagos State is in the best interest of all Lagosians. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I'm going to invite the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Prince Bola Onawal, to address us.
Honorable colleagues, gentlemen of the press, good afternoon. In the last 13 days, a lot has come out of the Ministry of Agri. On the 27th of March 2020, the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola, flagged off the economic stimulus in the form of emergency food response. This is a way of providing a social safety net for the vulnerable people in our state. At the Ministry of Agri and at the ESCO Executive Council, we all knew that after the Edge Frontier challenge that we are going to face with the COVID-19, as government is providing healthy lives and good well-being to the citizens, we knew, we did a forecast that the next frontier will be the food security challenge. That is exactly what happened. Globally, the world is observing a lockdown. If we don't have opportunity to go to farms, if the supply chains of food have been disrupted, definitely there will be a major food supply challenge. In responding to that, the Executive Council decided that before the lockdown of Lagos or Nigeria should arise, we should be proactive. And that is exactly what we did in Lagos. We were proactive, and we decided that we must reach out to the citizens. Who are these citizens? The vulnerable people in our society, the physically challenged, the communities that are less privileged. We all know where those communities are. We decided that at the first instance, we should look at the first 200,000 households. We all know that the population of Lagos is over 22 million. Can the state government feed the entire 24 million population? I leave you with the answer. What we decided was that when we start with 200,000 households, with the assumption that one household will be mother, father, and 4 children, multiply that by 200,000, that will give us 1.2 million people, average. So, we decided that what are we going to give to Lagosians? What kind of palliative, food palliative are we going to give handouts? What are the reliefs? We also agreed that we should go in the line of dry ration. Dry ration by grains, rice, garri, and beans. Then we also added loaves of bread. We also assumed that the portion or the package that we are going to give each household should last 14 days, without us knowing that even the federal government was going to lock down the entire state. That affected the supply chain, as I mentioned. According to the World Food Program, World Food Program is the international standard that is being deployed in the crisis when you have a humanitarian crisis globally. It is based on that we came up with the 5 kg of rice, 5 kg of garri, and 3 kg of beans, as beans serving as the protein component of the food. At the end of the 11th day, the ministry, in close collaboration with other MDAs, local governments, home affairs, finance, civic engagement, PSO, that is the head of service, and even some other agencies, LASTRA, that is Lagos State Resident Registration Agency. We decided that the best model of distributing of the food will be through the community development associations and councillors. In Lagos, there are 3,900 community development associations. 3,900 community development associations. Our councillors, there are 377 because there are 377 wards. And LIREC, that is the religious bodies. We believe that if we use the umbrella of CDA, the umbrella of religious bodies and our councillors, we should be able to get to the real people, the vulnerable people in our society. Distinguished guests, gentlemen of the press, 102,000 households, starting from Ofin Jango in Epe, Abomiti, Epe, Gberefu in Badagry, even in the riverine area, Irewe, Ojo, Ijagemo, Ojo, Ise, Ibeduleki. If you go to all those places, aside from the metropolis, Lagos metropolis, a lot of households have benefited from the packages. I want to, the case of Mrs. Adeyemo Ogunshola from Surulere is very instructive, and I want to quote her. The package came on my 65th birthday, and I was surprised when they came to my doorstep without having to struggle for it. One of the testimonies that we say that is also giving us the urge, it's giving us inspiration to continue. Distinguished honorable commissioners, gentlemen of the press, we covered 20 local governments and 37 SCDA in 11 days, and we distributed 102,000 food packages. It's also important to break what the economics of it, because a lot of us may not understand. I want us to understand the economics of it. For rice, 50 kg rice, we bought 10,100 bags of 50 kg rice, and that is exactly what we distributed. For garri, 5,900 bags, of which 75 kg, some 100 kg of rice, of garri. For beans, 3,955 bags of 100 kg each. For bread, 187,000 loaves of 300 bread each. And for tomato paste, 273,000 sachets. Aside from the packaging materials that we got, that's just a bit of the economics of it. Following the conclusion of the first half of the first phase, a bit of narrative came up with some people using social media to say it didn't get to us. I want to let us know that as a government, as a listening government, the figure and the people that did that, their numbers are insignificant statistically, considering the people, the households that were touched. Gentlemen of the press, in the course of the first 11 days, the agency of government, LASTRA, sent out messages to 191,000 senior people in our society. That is, people that are above 60 years of age. Over 25,000 of them responded. That we asked them whether they will have interest in the food package. 25,000 of them responded with a yes. That made us to come up with a new strategy, a reform strategy, so that we can expand, because we are more like expanded the scope. We can expand the scope and even the reach. As of yesterday and today, we have about 4 or 5 agencies of government, starting with LASMA. There is no traffic now. We have our LASMA officers. They are across 16 locations, 16 different local government and SCDAs. If we calculate, I'll let you have the figure. And neighborhood watch officers. We also have civil society organizations, volunteer groups that are working in close collaboration with us. After 3 days after like 16 hours of brainstorming sessions, we came up that we are going to deploy those officers. Neighborhood watch undisputedly understand the local areas, they have the local knowledge, and they are in the grassroots. So also LASMA. Then we have some volunteer groups that are resident within those areas that we have started with. As a matter of fact, as that by the end of today, almost 11,000 households will be touched. That is, they will be handed over, they will be given their packages, and our target is 25,000. Gentlemen of the press, our target is to ensure that we get to that 200,000 households. We have already done 102,000, and as of today, yesterday and today, we are reaching out to other people. The people living with disability, they are collecting their packages. Seniors in our societies are also receiving their packages. As a matter of fact, Mr. Olanrewaju of 4 Raji Balogun Street in Nisheri got his package. Pa Ama Ogedengbe of Idowu Adeniji Street, Ekoro, Agbado, Keodo, SCD also collected their packages. This is what we have started, and I want to assure Lagosians, these are palliatives. We are at the first instance reaching out to 200,000 households. Also want to let you know, private corporate organizations and well-meaning Lagosians have also donated food items. Those food items will be used in the second phase. So I want to assure Lagosians, the time to be calm is now. We are coming. Opportunity for us to also see that this is a listening government, and we want to assure you that when it comes to food security, we will always be there for you. Aside from the emergency food response, you remember I said the emergency food response is for the vulnerable people, the less privileged, the catchment communities that are more like in the informal sector. I would not want to label them any other name. We also have the neighborhood food markets, what we call like a makeshift market or emergency food market. Those emergency food markets are meant to support households that want to pick up more groceries. In Lagos, there are 27 of them. They are scattered across the entire entire state, and they are meant to cushion the economic impact that the lockdown has triggered. As of today, 750 farmers are in those markets, working in collaboration with our food merchants. Only today alone, 25,000 customers have visited 11 of our 27 markets as at 1 p.m. Don't forget, we started on the 29th of March. The second edition was on the 3rd of April. And today's edition is what we regard as the Easter edition, the 9th of April. It is also important to let us see the economics of the market, economics of the palliatives. $600 individuals were given employment in our production centers. So in the last 2 weeks, 600 direct jobs have been created. What about those that are in the farm? Because we get, Lagos is, in terms of food self-sufficiency, we are 18% in terms of food self-sufficiency. So we have also patronized other states. We have boosted the economy of states like Ogun State, Oyo State, Kwara State, Nasarawa State, Kano State, Benue, Kaduna, and so many other states, where we get those food items from. So that is the economics of the emergency food market that we have created. 103 trucks in the last 2 weeks have been engaged. Truck drivers and their motorboys. Gentlemen of the press, in our food market, because of social distances, we are in compliance. We are working with our Ministry of Health. Before you enter our market, we ensure that you wash your hands. We also ensure that we check your temperature, and we ensure the social distancing. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is a positive opportunity for a lot of Lagosians, and I pray and hope that the COVID-19 will come to an end very soon. We all know, based on the data and the information we got, that the lockdown is making the curve to come down, to flatten a bit. Distinguished guests, honorable commissioners, I want to also let us know, we have created call centers. We have one call center that takes care of all the local governments. If the food package does not get to you, please call any of these numbers. We have our officers there. They work almost on a 12-hour basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, food is health, and food is wealth. And that brings us to the Ministry of Health. You will agree with me that the Ministry of Health and its agencies have been on top of the game, and every day the Honorable Commissioner gives us an update. So, but today we feel that Lagosians should know all that the state government has been doing behind the scene. So on that note, I now want to invite the Honorable Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, to give us the health updates.
Good afternoon, colleagues, honorable members, members of the press, Lagosians. I first of all just want to say that the response has been a multi-sectorial response. Even though I brief you, I try to brief you every day. Several members of the cabinet are working diligently in the background, supporting the Ministry of Health in all its facets and ensuring that the impact of this outbreak is softened. And as you can see from our data, which we publish from time to time, We always talk about the curve, but essentially, if I put it in simple terms, we're only seeing between 5 and 10 new cases every day, which suggests that the outbreak is seemingly under control in Lagos. If it was out of control, we would be seeing increasing numbers of cases on a daily basis. So for example, we might see 10 today, 15 tomorrow, 20 the day after. So whatever we're doing in Lagos is working. We have several strategies that we've deployed. And let me remind Lagosians that Lagos has been preparing for this event for 5 years. After the Ebola outbreak in 2014, we realized where our weaknesses are in terms of resilience to an outbreak situation caused by an extremely contagious pathogen. And we knew that we had to strengthen certain structures and build certain expertise. We've been doing that quietly and diligently with the support of multiple ministries. My predecessor has been establishing a foundation which I have just acquired and further consolidated. So we knew that this kind of event was going to happen. We just didn't know when. And when we saw the outbreak creeping around the world, we knew that this was the time. And so we hastened our response and preparedness. And if you recall, we launched the incident command structure 1 month before our first case hit our shores. That is a mark of the proactiveness of the Lagos State government and its ability to look into the future and prepare and improve our resilience to these kinds of shocks. The data we have at the moment, we have had a total of 145 confirmed cases in Lagos State. We have discharged 32, completely recovered. We're discharging 7 more today, which will be 39 in total. We have had 2 deaths in Lagos State, but not in our facilities. So far, we have had 100% recovery from the cases that we have admitted at our state facilities. Of importance is our capacity to test. We have in Lagos State now 3 independent testing facilities. The test for COVID-19 is a very complicated test, and it is performed in very sophisticated laboratories. In the state, we have one of the most sophisticated laboratories in Africa. It is built through the collaboration of the Canadian government and the Lagos State government, and it has the capacity to carry out very advanced laboratory diagnosis and also has one of the most sophisticated biobanks. At this facility, we are increasing our capacity to diagnose COVID-19 every day. And as we do that, we will also be able to increase our screening of vulnerable populations within the state. We have been increasing our bed capacity, our isolation bed capacity, which is different from a normal ward bed. An isolation facility is a very contained environment. It is only manned by specially trained staff. And right now we have 280 isolation beds. The current occupancy is about 100. So we have an excess of 180 isolation beds. we've started to increase our isolation centers. Our primary isolation center, where our Center of Excellence in Infectious Diseases is at the Yaba Mainland Hospital. We have just commissioned the Onikon Isolation Facility, courtesy of GTB Bank, which worked in collaboration with the Lagos State government. We just opened the Lagos University Teaching Hospital Isolation Facility in collaboration with the federal government. We are working very fast to commission the Bagada Isolation Facility, which is a very sophisticated 150-bed isolation facility. And we're working with the private sector to also develop another tented isolation at the Landmark location. Bagada and Landmark will be coming on stream next week, and that will further increase our isolation bed capacity to well over 300 and approaching 400. We have other plans in store as we watch the dimensions of this outbreak. In addition, we have 4 quarantine facilities. These are places where we hold persons who we believe may have been exposed and would like to remove them from community because they have a high index of suspicion. And these are facilities that we've rapidly converted into holding bays where we can keep people for a couple of days until we get the results of their tests. And if they're positive, they will go into one of our isolation facilities. And if they're negative, they'll be discharged back into community. You may have heard that there are frequent excursions across the Nigeria Republic of Benin border. We have been able to intercept 3 such incursions, and right now as I speak, we have been able to meet and take into our care 67 Nigerians that have come from Côte d'Ivoire, and we've put them in one of our quarantine facilities in Badagry, and we're just about to receive another 27. The idea behind this is that we'll keep them for 14 days isolation. We will test them, and if they're positive, they'll move to one of our isolation wards, and if they're negative, we'll allow them to continue on their way to Osun State, which is where they originate from. The first batch of such that crossed the Nigerian border, we discovered that about 10% of them were positive for coronavirus. So this movement of people is an area that we are watching very closely to make sure that it does not increase our numbers of imported cases. We are often asked about research, about the use of certain drugs, about the use of rapid tests. I'd like to assure Lagosians that we have a very robust research strategy. We're going to be testing several of the drugs that you hear about, just to make sure that they actually add value to our treatment cases, and that we're not just following hearsay. It is important that we practice evidence-based medicine, and that these treatment protocols are indeed useful in our Lagosian populations. We will also be testing the accuracy of these rapid tests, because many of them have very low level of accuracy, and the consequences of using inaccurate tests could be quite serious. I'd like to reassure Lagosians that the incident commander, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is fully engaged. We communicate almost on the hour. He participates in several of our meetings, and he makes some very high-level decisions that are crucial to the implementation and the success of Lagos State's strategy against COVID-19. Once again, thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, the Honourable Commissioner for Health. In any engagement, there are two sides to the coin. And I want to recollect what people call the philosophy of the frog. And the philosophy is Bumi, war. And what the government has done is to ensure that the state remains viable, that the state remains responsive. But on the other side, the government also expects certain obligation from members of the community. And that community engagement is what the state government will still want to have, though we are having it, but to continue. And so, on that note, I'm going to invite the special advisor on civic engagement in the person of Princess Aderemi Adeboali to now talk about our role as residents and citizens of the state.
Good afternoon, our honorable colleagues, gentlemen of the press. My colleagues, they have talked to you about what government has been doing since the inception of COVID-19 and our responsibility as a government to our citizens. But then our citizens equally have a responsibility as a citizen of Lagos and a citizen of Nigeria to make sure the rules and regulations that are laid down by the government that they are being followed. Yes, if you have, if you listen to all the MDSs, they have narrated each ministry what Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu had put in place through their ministries to do for Lagosians. But also, during this breakout, we equally expected some responsibility or civic responsibilities from our citizens. One of the things that Office of Civic Engagement has been doing, we have been going into communities to sensitize, doing advocacy and the enlightenment of our citizens on ways to curb COVID-19. One of the ways is, of course, like they have been saying, proper hand washing. If you have to sneeze, sneeze into your elbow. But one of the things that we notice as we do our community engagement is that people tend to wear gloves and they move around with that single glove. While you are wearing that glove, you're actually contaminating others, but maybe not yourself. So that means you might be spreading COVID-19 and other bacteria in the community. So we want to emphasize that please practice proper hand washing all the time. Use hand sanitizers if you must, maybe in between the hand washing. And most importantly, the lockdown that has been laid down both by the federal government and by the state government. Going out in the communities, we notice that a lot of people are not following that lockdown rules. They are not staying in their homes. They are still moving around, So if you continue to move around in the community and you continue to spread COVID-19, then our work will be fruitless. All the efforts of this administration of Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu would be for nothing. So we are calling on meaningful Lagosians. We are calling on both the formal and the informal sector, from the grassroots to the elites, to please continue to respect the lockdown rules that have been laid down by both the federal government and the state government, so that we can all, together be our brother's keeper to make sure we don't continue to spread COVID-19. COVID-19 is not just in Lagos, it's not just in Nigeria, it's global. It's a pandemic. That means it's all over the world. And the only way they have been telling us from America to London, so, however you want to say it, is to stay indoors, maintain social distance, at least 2 meters. if you don't have to go out, stay indoors. But there is a lockdown now in Lagos State. Please, please, please listen to the lockdown rules and stay indoors. Yes, we thank you for working with the government. Like I said, government cannot do it alone. Governance is two-way street. Government and the people and the government. They will meet halfway. So let's continue to meet halfway. Let's continue to listen to all the laid down rules and stay indoors. When it's time for us to come out, that means government through the Ministry of Health would have put down some guidelines. We have put down some guidelines to make sure we're actually safe to come out, to make sure the pandemic, will not continue in Lagos State, hence Nigeria. Also, I want to also use this opportunity to advise Lagosians, resident Lagosians, truly, when this lockdown is over, go to LASTRA, go and register for your LASTRA card. Because that is one of the ways you can actually benefit from the dividends of this government. Make sure you are properly registered so that if you are doing anything through LASTRA, you can get that benefit. Once again, I want to thank you for your endurance. I want to thank you for your compliance. I want to thank you for being a good citizen. And Lagos State, being the center of excellence, through you, we continue to maintain that standard. Ìgbéga ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó àjùmọ̀ṣe ni. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Members of the State Executive Council here present, gentlemen of the press, you will agree with me that it has been a worthwhile time spent because the government has been able to communicate all that has been going on since the lockdown started. We'll just entertain one or two questions so that we can wrap this up. If there are, you need to step out here so that we can quickly. Yes, I have only one hand up. Okay, 2, 3, 4. Thank you very much. So we'll just take that and then the responses will come. So can we have the mic for them?
I think this will go to environment, home affairs, and probably health. You say you sanitize major mosques and churches. Is there a plan to go around all the others, the minor ones? And if not, will it pose a problem when the lockdown ends? Secondly, is the LASTRA database as it is now, from what you said, not everybody has registered, but as it is, what percentage of people do you think it has covered, and can you deduce who are the vulnerable people from that database? Thank you.
My name is Adedomi. I work with CBC News. First, to the Commissioner for Economic Planning and Budget, we said post-COVID-19, Lagos will be strong in terms of employment and food security. Can you shed more light on this? Employment in terms of what? And how it will involve the food security. Then Commissioner for Health. It has recently been confirmed in the US that COVID-19 can be transmitted through talking and breathing by some scientists. I would like to know if this is the time to compulsory face mask wearing in public places. Then Commissioner for Health again. How are the bodies of those that died from COVID-19 buried? Commissioner for the Environment, Mr. Tunji Daly, please pardon me, I have a couple of questions here. Ramadan is around the corner, and I want to, that this is the time Muslims congregate more than before. So what measures are you putting to check them? Then I've also noticed that during this time, the infrastructural work, both rehabilitation in the state has reduced. When is it going to get back, especially now that we have free roads? And Commissioner for Local Government, Mr. Wale Ahmed, please, I want to know what method you're using to reach the grassroots. Are you speaking with them in their language? Are you using town planning sort of to reach them? And lastly, sorry, what is Lagos? Please, let me just ask this, Mr. Shino, please.
Commissioners. Commissioner for Economic Planning.
Thank you very much for that question. It's always a bother about how employment will be stimulated. Now, employment comes as a result of economic activities. Now, one of the things that COVID-19 has done across the world is to force a slowdown in economic activities by slowing down production in most of the productive capitals or productive centers of the world. The way we are responding in Lagos is that if you notice the way we had moved on COVID-19 was very methodical. And the idea was that we did not want to cut off completely the economic, except we saw good reason to do so. And as we speak, the Commissioner for Agri just told us, right, that there are certain selective special markets going on. As we speak, we are making procurements, right, to ensure that food security is not compromised, at least even to the vulnerable, right, and the aged, and we're working out all of this. What I have also said is that we are putting together a post-COVID-19 response and stimulation plan. Now, but in our style, and our style usually in Lagos, is that we always engage, we always encourage citizens' participation, and Mr. Governor has said we should put together stakeholders, and that work is going on right now, that would evaluate very critically together with economic planning as to how this entire impact that we're feeling will be re-engineered for improvement in production. So that's exactly what will happen. Now, right now, even during COVID-19, we have not ceased. So you will see the activities of the entire MDS come to play to ensure that things are still working in Lagos, to ensure that our business continuity plan is riding. And that's why we can still have ESCO using virtual means to continue to drive Lagos. That's why our mechanisms for approving things, expenditure, and approving transactions in Lagos is still on, under a very special regime. Now, where we are going is to reorder the budget, refocus the budget, and in that refocusing, we are going to be looking at enterprise. We are going to be looking at small and medium-scale enterprises. We are going to be looking at outputs that have the capacity to generate employment quickly. And those are the things which will generate employment as soon as we have clarity in our space, clarity on the impact of COVID, and as soon as COVID begins to give us room to operate more actively. We'll be looking at sectors like agriculture, sectors like construction, sectors like things to empower knowledge, skills, and try and direct vocational impact to our people so that they can be useful to both themselves and to be useful to the society. We also said that our people should participate very actively in registering with LASRA. We also said they should also participate very actively in registering with the social net register. That will help us actually plan and know where our people are standing and how we intend to drive them back into employment. The Commissioner of Finance did talk about our involvement with our Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. We are going to be empowering them to intervene very directly in these particular sectors. So that's exactly how we would ensure that employment begins to come back, because all of the effect of a supply chain jam and a downward trajectory in production means that it's going to begin to affect employment and affect incomes. So this will restart very, very quickly. I think the Commissioner for Agriculture has spoken very strongly and profusely around what we are doing to ensure that food security is sustained. We are in the market as we speak, and we have significant plans in our back room to unleash on Lagos that will help sustain production and actually improve production post-COVID. Of course, it will not start from a peak from day one. It's going to ramp up gradually. What we are just doing is to ensure that we ramp up more quickly than slowly. Thank you very much.
Yes, Commissioner for Finance, then after Commissioner for Health.
So thank you very much. The question is, what is Lagos losing daily? So at this time, it might be a little bit premature to actually measure the true extent of the impact or the losses to the state. We are witnessing a twin shock. We're talking about the oil prices, decline, and also we're talking about the economic freeze that comes with COVID-19, because the distinguishing factor between what we are witnessing now and financial crisis, they are not the same at all. Businesses are not operating at full capacity, and what that means is that once the businesses are not operating at full capacity, they are not able to actually make the kind of profit or revenue that they would make, and that will inversely affect the revenue that government gets in taxes. The second thing is the huge expenditures that we make minute by minute, hour by hour, that have not been earlier envisaged. Even though the Commissioner for Health mentioned that we did plan or prepare for it, but we didn't know when exactly it will come. So in absolute terms, we are spending a lot into our response efforts in managing this particular pandemic that we never prepared for in monetary terms. Thank you.
So the question around masks is a question that is being debated heavily around the world. We've been doing extensive research on the topic, and I just want to elaborate 2 points. When you wear a mask, you're either wearing it for 2 reasons. Either you're trying to protect yourself, or you're trying to protect people around you if you have the infection. The only way you can protect yourself is to wear what we call an N95 mask, which is a sealed mask. It filters the air before you breathe it, and in the filtration process, you will protect yourself from breathing in air that has the virus in it. If you wear anything else but an N95, and you will know the difference between an N95 and an ordinary mask, the N95 fits your face completely, and it does not allow air to pass through the sides. If you're wearing anything else but an N95, another name for it is FFP3, then you are not protecting yourself from the environment, but rather you are reducing people around you from becoming infected by your droplets that you produce when you talk, when you cough, or when you sneeze. The consensus right now is not clear whether the entire community should be wearing masks, but we're getting closer to a decision, and I believe that Mr. Governor will make an announcement on this in the next few days. The masks that the population or the community can wear will be locally made masks, but they themselves need to be made in a particular way. It's not just sewing a piece of fabric and elastic and putting it on your face. There is a bit of a science to making handmade masks, and we'd like to get that design accurate so that we can give you the correct design and the correct advice. On the issue of managing the deceased or people that die from COVID, even when you die from COVID, it doesn't mean the virus has died. The corpse is still infectious and it needs to be handled in a particular way. So we have specialists in the Ministry of Health, in our Department of Environment, who are specially trained to manage and to prepare the bodies of people that have demised from COVID-19 in such a way that when we hand over these bodies to the families, that the family members are not at risk of being infected by their loved ones. By the time we hand them over to the families can bury them safely, or if you wish, we have a crematorium at the mainland hospital in Yaba, and some families may choose or opt to have the remains of their loved ones cremated, just like what we did during the Ebola outbreak. So there is a special way of handling the dead. It's not for unexperienced morticians. When anybody dies from COVID-19, the Ministry of Health is deployed to safely prepare the body for burial. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Honourable Commissioner for the Environment.
Thank you very much. I would like to respond to two questions. First by Mary Alale Yusuf on and the question was, apart from the sanitization of mosques and churches, what are the other areas here to be covered? We have spoken about the highways. We have several major highways, between 20 and 24 of them in Lagos, major highways. And these will still have to be fully sanitized. I know some of the local governments have touched several of them and so on, but you still need to take them at a stretch. I can give you an example from Moshalashi to Ojokoro alone. That's a very long stretch. You can also pick from Jibowu to Ikorodu. That's a long stretch of an highway and so on. And that is a tax that must be taken seriously and so on, and several other areas. And as the fumigation exercise continues, I believe that as issues emerge, we will respond to them accordingly. The second question has to do with and they are in two parts, by Adi Roger from TVC. First is on Ramadan. Ramadan is coming, and it's almost here, and so on. And we know that Ramadan is one of the fundamental pillars of Islam. And we know that we have to respond. I believe the Honourable Commissioner for Home Affairs is already in touch with our mosques and with our leaders, of the Muslim leaders all over the state, engaging them, and I believe that they will be able to explain properly how they are going to congregate. But as long as we are still in this experiment and so on, a large congregation will not be allowed. I can take that, but I believe that through that consultation by the Honourable Commissioner for Home Affairs, they will be able to come out specifically on how the prayer session will be handled. The last question has to do with the infrastructural works are being reduced. No, I do not disagree. I can speak for my colleague, the Honourable, the Special Advisor. Works are going on in several places in Lagos. Road works, they are going on, and they will still continue because they are racing against time. When we are already in the rainy season, and as the rain intensifies, we may have a problem of continuing some of those. That's why they have to accelerate those projects. And most of those projects are going well. And also, the dredging work by the drainage department of the Ministry of Environment has started. It started last weekend. They are covering several drainage channels across the state and so on. And work is already going on. And I'm speaking to you, works are already going on. So thank you very much.
Honourable Commissioner.
Thank you very much. I want to respond to the question from Adedoja, Channels TV, about the method used to reach, TVC rather, the method used to reach the grassroots is actually a command structure. Let me just briefly familiarize you. There are about 3,900 CDAs in Lagos. In each ward, there is a minimum of 1 CDA. There can be 10 in a particular ward, but no ward has less than one. Every word has one. And there are 377 words. So if we have 3,900 CDAs, it means you can just extrapolate. It means there are so many CDAs per word in Lagos. From these CDAs, the chairman and the secretary of the CDAs in that ward will come together to form CDC. That is Community Development Council, still at the ward level. Then, those CDC in that local government, there will be one single CDC that will oversee all of them. Then, from that CDC in the local government, they select about 11 of them to form the State Community Development Advisory Council. And that has a chairman. So, to break it down for you, if I want to get across to all the CDAs in Lagos, I will just start by calling one man and pass the message. I promise you within the next 1 hour, all the 3,900 will get to know what we are talking about. That's about CDA. Then we have the 57 local government chairmen. I don't need to, say further on that. That is grassroots, and we can also pass messages through them. Then we have traditional rulers. So many of them and different grades. First class, second class, baales, and the rest. But there is a permanent chairman, and that's the Olowo Eko. And they also have an ESCO. So if I call our father the Olowo Eko and relate a message, somehow it will get to all traditional rulers, and traditional rulers have people that they are ruling over. So it will get to those people also. That's why I say it's a command structure. Talking about markets, we have President General of Market Men and Women Association. But in every local government, there is an Iyaloja General. And in every single market, there is an Iyaloja of that market. So if I call Mrs. Folashade Tinubu Ojo, with due respect to her name, and I want to relate a message, if it's so urgent we can't call everybody to a meeting, I promise you the message will get to where it's supposed to get to. So I'm just trying to tell you that it's a command structure that the government has put in place. Some messages will get to the real grassroots within the next 5 minutes, if I just pick up a phone now. Thank you.
Well, distinguished members of the State Executive Council, gentlemen of the press, I believe that all that we have done today is to exhaust the subject matter of where we are, what the state government has been doing, and what the state government intends to do in ensuring that the economy of Lagos and the business and the life of Lagos continues after COVID-19. So on that note, on behalf of the Lagos State government, and by extension, the Lagos State Ministry of Information and Strategy, ably led by the Honorable Commissioner, Honorable Benga Motosho, I want to sincerely thank all members of the press for coming around today, because we are partners in progress to ensure that Lagosians are kept informed about where we are and where we are going. So on that note, I want to say thank you very much for coming, and we assure you of the openness of this government, and we know that at any point in time when we call you again, you will be there for us so that we'll continue the business of communicating. Thank you very much, and good afternoon.